Hi, everybody. It is Mrs. Huddle and Miss Westman.
Hi.
In our mismatchy get-ups today. Reading for you chapters 16 and 17. So when you guys left off last Thursday, Bat was looking in an encyclopedia, and he was trying to get all this information that he could get on skunks, and he found out that there is a skunk expert. So we're going to find out what happens next as we start chapter 16, which is on page 95. And if you hadn't seen, we did bring Thor with us today. He was hiding in this plant by the recess windows. And so after we're done reading today, we will see where Thor scurries off to next here at Somerset. So chapter 16, a correspondence. Correspondence is a really big word. I wonder what that means, Miss Westman. I'm going to read to find out.
We're going to find out.
The next day, when it was time for recess, Israel stopped at Bat's desk instead of going outside with the rest of the class and asked, "Hey, Bat, do you want to play Foursquare or something?" "No," said Bat. He was still sitting at his desk. "No, you don't want to play Foursquare?" "No, I don't want to play anything," Bat answered. All the other kids had left the classroom, and Bat really wanted Israel to leave too, so that he could talk to Mr. Grayson in private. But Israel kept standing there like he was waiting for something. "Well, do you want to go outside and just not play anything?" "No," Bat said, "I don't." Israel stood next to the desk for a moment longer, sort of smiling, like he was waiting for Bat to say something more. But what could he be waiting for Bat to say? In his head, Bat ran through a list of things that he was supposed to remember to say to people. "Excuse me. I'm sorry. Please. May I? Thank you." "Thank you," Bat said. Okay," said Israel, and he shrugged, and then finally he left. After Israel was gone, Bat went up to Mr. Grayson's desk. Mr. Grayson had a stack of their current events assignments in front of him, and he was making comments on each one in a green felt-tipped pen. "Mr. Grayson," Bat said, "I need your help." Mr. Grayson put the cap on his pen and set it down. "I'm all ears," he said. Well, that was a funny expression, and for a second, Bat pictured Mr. Grayson made entirely of ears, with ears for eyes and an ear for a nose, and two tiny rows of little ears for teeth. I would love to see how you visualize this. You should draw a picture of Mr. Grayson being all ears and bring it to school.
It makes me laugh in my head when I
well,
think of it.
We'll put up those pictures around school if you bring them in. "Well," said Bat, "let me tell you about Thor." And then Bat told Mr. Grayson everything about the skunk kit, about how Mom had brought him home after his mother had died, and how he drank puppy formula because there is no skunk formula. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. About how he went to the bathroom, and how he needed to eat every 2 hours, and how when Mom first brought him home, he was almost all pink, but now his black fur was starting to grow in, and most of all, how Bat loved him. "He sounds pretty great," Mr. Grayson said. "Yes," said Bat, "he's more than pretty great. He's all the way great." "So how can I help you, Bat?" "Well, there's a world skunk expert named Dr. Jerry Dragoo, and I wanted to ask his advice about something. It's important." "Okay," said Mr. Grayson. He pushed the stack of papers to one side and pulled his laptop from his satchel. He opened it and logged on.
That's another kind of big word, satchel. Satchel. I think it's kind of like a purse or a bag, like a backpack.
So let's see if that makes sense.
Okay.
He pulled his laptop from his bag or backpack. Makes sense to me. That was one of the great things about Mr. Grayson. If you said you needed help, he just helped without a lot of annoying questions. "Well, there's only one Dr. Jerry Dragoo," said Mr. Grayson. "He's a professor at a university. We can write him an email if you want. That's his email address right there." Could it really be this easy? Could Bat really just write to the skunk expert? Well, Bat liked to send emails. He sent emails every month to his grandmother who lived in Idaho because he hated talking on the phone. Emails gave you time to think. "Okay," said Bat. "Well, what do you want to say? I can type it for you." Mr. Grayson clicked on his email icon and typed in the address. "That's all right," said Bat. "I like to type." Mr. Grayson let Bat sit in his chair, and Bat typed, Dear Dr. Jerry Dragoo. Mr. Grayson said, You can just write Dear Dr. Dragoo. People don't usually use a person's first and last name when they start a letter. Well, people don't usually have a name as cool as Dr. Jerry Dragoo, Bat said. Or Dragoo, Bat said. Mr. Grayson laughed. Can't argue with that. And Bat went on. My mom brought home a baby skunk. She is a vet, and she had to help him be born. His mother died, but she didn't have any diseases, and neither does he. His name is Thor. I want to keep him as a pet because I know I can be a good pet caretaker. Even if I can't keep him forever, I want to at least keep him until he goes back home to the wild, not give him to the skunk rescue people. Please write back and say I can, so I can tell my mom that a world skunk expert says yes. Then she will probably let me keep him. And you can see in your book that where though he's writing the letter, it looks a little bit different. The typing on the book and the font that's used is a little different to help you see that that part is the email. Is that okay, Bat asked? Mr. Grayson didn't answer right away, so Bat turned to look at him. Mr. Grayson's face was squinched up like he was trying not to laugh, or maybe like he was going to cry. Mr. Grayson, Bat asked, what's wrong? Nothing is wrong, Bat. That's a very nice email. I will be interested to hear what Dr. Dragoo says. Me too, said Bat. And at the end of the email he typed, Sincerely, Bigsby Alexander Tam. People call me Bat.
Wow, what a nice way to end the email.
I know, very proper.
Yeah.
So, make a prediction. Do you think Dr. Dragoo is going to email Bat back? I mean, he's a skunk expert. That seems like a pretty busy job. He probably
at a university?
Yeah. Lots of other things besides emailing back a kid. I don't know. Make your prediction. We'll find out.
Well, I'm interested to see what pictures come in of what they thought Mr. Grayson looked like all ears.
Yes. I'm hanging those up all over.
I have chapter 17, At the Clinic. So I'm on page 103 in the book. 103. Bat loved going to Mom's veterinary clinic. If it were up to him, he would go with her every time she had to work late instead of staying home with Janie. But Mom said that as much as she loved having Bat at work with her, all of his questions sometimes kept the vet techs from doing their jobs. Bat tried not to ask too many questions, but there were so many interesting things to ask questions about. Today, you can help Lawrence with the baths, Mom told Bat as she drove him the 3 miles from the Saw-Wet school to the small brick building marked Valerie Tam, DMV.
Nope.
DVM.
DVM.
Oh my gosh. It's late in the day. Janie was always trying to get Mom to rename her veterinary clinic something like, well, something fun, she said, something creative. So far, she had suggested the Furry Fred's Clinic, Pause for a Moment, Veterinarian, Nose to Tail and everything in between, and her favorite, the Paw Hospital. But Bat liked seeing Mom's name on the side of the building. It was like she was a celebrity. I wonder what I would name a vet clinic. Because those are some pretty creative names.
Mm-hmm. I like them.
Let's see. I'm good at bats, Bat said. Yes, said Mom, you are. When he pulled open the heavy doors at the front of the brick building, Bat was overwhelmed by smells and sounds. Oh, the lavender peppermint spray they used to clean up pet accidents, the wet dog scent of shampooing going on in the back room, barking and barking and barking, and a phone ringing, and people talking, and a cat yowling. Oh, if there was this much ruckus at school or on the playground or anywhere else, Bat definitely would need to wear earmuffs. But here the sounds and the smells didn't bother him. Even the flickering fluorescent light didn't irritate him very much. Suzanne stood behind the counter running a lady's credit card through the machine with one hand while she answered the ringing phone with the other. Dr. Tam's office, she said, waving hello as he walked by. He waved back, but he didn't say anything because he didn't want to bother her. It used to be that he didn't notice if people were busy with other things, but he was doing way better now. At least he usually was. An old lady, old like a grandmother, sat on the bench in the waiting room, and she held a box in her lap. Bat stopped in front of her. "What kind of animal do you have in that box?" "It's my cat, Pickles," the lady said. "He's not feeling 100%. "What are his symptoms?" Bat asked. "Are you the veterinarian?" the lady asked. "Oh, no," said Bat, "not yet." "Ah," said the lady. "Well, he has indigestion, and he hasn't been very hungry lately." There were lots of things that could be. Bat looked up at his mom, who stood next to him listening, and she shrugged. "I'll have to examine Pickles to know what's wrong," she said. And then she turned to the lady. "I'll see you and Pickles in just a minute or two." "I hope Pickles feels better soon," Bat said. Then he followed Mom through the door that separated the waiting room from the back and watched as she took her white coat from the hook and put it on. And then Mom was Dr. Tam, a veterinarian, better than a superhero. One day, Bat would have a jacket, just like Mom's. It would be white, and it would have 5 buttons, and it would have the words Dr. Tam, DVM, embroidered just above his heart.
What does DVM mean?
Doctor of Veterinary Medicine.
Got it.
DVM. Of this, Bat was 99.9% sure, because that was as sure as you could be about anything. "I've got to see patients," Mom said. "You stay close to Lawrence and be a help, okay?" "Hey, Bat Boy, what's up?" Lawrence was the only person who called Bat Boy. "Mom rescued a skunk kit, and we're raising it. She says we have to give it to a rescue in a month. Well, okay, 3 weeks from now. But I'm going to change your mind. We named him Thor," Bat said. Lawrence laughed. "Oh, I know all about Kid," he said. "Who do you think is taking care of him when you're at school?" "You are?" said Bat. "Are you doing a good job?" Lawrence rumples Bat's hair, and Bat smoothed it down again. "Of course I'm doing a good job," Lawrence said. "It's the only kind of job I know how to do. Look." He reached into the neck of his shirt, and he pulled out the strangest necklace that Bat had ever seen. It was made of T-shirt material and ended in a little pouch just big enough for cradling a skunk kit. "Is Thor in there?" Bat asked. Lawrence nodded. "Yup. The little guy seemed kind of lonely in the kennel, so I made a sling for him out of my old T-shirt last night. See? Snug as a bug in a rug." Lawrence opened the pouch so Bat could look inside, and there was Thor, curled into a little sleeping ball. "Can I wear him?" Bat asked. "Of course. We don't want him to get wet when I'm washing the dogs. Here." And very carefully, Lawrence pulled the sling over his head and then put it over Bat's head. But the sling that barely reached Lawrence's chest went all the way to Bat's belly button. "We'll fix that," said Lawrence. And he looped the fabric into a knot behind Bat's neck to shorten the sling. "There," he said. "Now you're a marsupial, Bat." "There are no marsupial bats," Bat said. "Marsupial infants need to have strong arms and claws to climb into their mother's pouch. Bats have wings." That's a big word, marsupial.
Mm-hmm.
Bat peered into the pouch to see if Thor had been disturbed by
You know
the
what a
movement.
marsupial is?
What?
A marsupial is an animal that has a pouch, so like a kangaroo. And then the Joey sits in the pouch. And he's saying, "Oh, you're like a marsupial
Because
you have
you've
your
been
pouch
carrying him.
that you're carrying the skunk in."
Because normally skunks wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Bat saying, "There's no such thing as a bat with a pouch."
Silly.
Yes.
Those two are being
Taking
silly.
it literally.
Let's see. Bat looked in to see if Thor had been disturbed by the movement, but the kit was still fast asleep. "He's got more fur than he had this morning," Bat said. "I can see the black and white growing in." "Oh, they grow up fast," Lawrence said. "You seem bigger than the last time I saw you, too." "Not you," said Bat, closing up the pouch and tucking it into his shirt. "You've already all the way big." And Lawrence grinned. If I get any bigger, I'll have to buy special order shoes. I already wear the biggest size shoes the store sells. "Good thing they're not too old to grow." "Good thing indeed," said Lawrence. Then he said, "Thor's a great name, Bat. Did you come up with it?" "No," said Bat. "Janie did." Oh, you're a lucky kid to have such a creative sister, Lawrence said. Did you thank her? No, said Bat, not yet. Oh, there'll be time for that later, Lawrence said. How about assisting me with some baths? Usually Bat would do just about anything to help Lawrence with baths. But now, with Thor in the sling, curled up and asleep? Oh, I don't know, said Bat. Don't worry about the kit, Lawrence said. You can wear an apron, and I'll do the soapy stuff. Lawrence draped a green apron around Bat's neck. Oh boy. Bat tried to make sure it wasn't pressing too tight against the sling as Lawrence tied the waist strap. All good? Lawrence asked. I can't tell if Thor is still breathing, Bat said. Maybe it's too tight. Lawrence untied the strap, and Bat took off the apron. He pulled the sling and peered inside. There was Thor, still tightly curled into a little ball, still fast asleep. He's okay, sighed Bat. Lawrence patted Bat's shoulder. Maybe you can just keep me company today. How does that sound, Bat boy? Better, said Bat. I can supervise. Good idea, Lawrence said. You can tell me when I use too much soap. That's easy, said Bat, following Lawrence into the holding room where dogs waited in separate kennels for their bath. You always use too much soap. Bat climbed up on the counter across from the big silver wash basin and watched as Lawrence bent down to open the far kennel, scooped up a shaggy white poodle who didn't look very happy about what was about to happen.
Have you ever felt that way? The same way as the white poodle? Not very happy about having to hop in the bath? I know my girls sometimes get that way.
You're okay, Jeff, Lawrence said, and he was using his soothing voice, calm and deep. Jeff is a funny name for a poodle, Bat said. Well, Bat's a funny name for a kid, Lawrence answered, setting Jeff into the wash basin before smiling at Bat, and Bat smiled back. Then Lawrence got to work, slipping Jeff's head into a restraint so he couldn't jump out of the tub, then turning on the faucet and running his hand under the water to check its temperature before he started spraying down the dog. That's a new restraint, isn't it? Bat asked. Good eye, said Lawrence, and he shut off the water and began massaging shampoo into Jeff's curly pelt. The other one was getting rusty, so I ordered this new model. Is that a suction cup connecting it to the wall? It sure is, said Lawrence. A strong one, too. And he grabbed a hold of the rope and tugged on it to show Bat how well it was connected to the wall. But with a loud pop, the suction cup came free. Jeff didn't waste any time. With an excited yip, he scrambled over the lip of the wash basin, leapt onto the ground, bubbles everywhere. He slipped and slid, and when he landed, his nails scraping across the linoleum floor. Lawrence reached to grab him, but Jeff was too fast. He scrambled to the door. Bat pulled his legs up onto the counter and crossed them, one arm wrapping protectively around Thor in his sling. The air smelled like warm, wet dog and strawberry shampoo. Lawrence's fingers were inches away from Jeff when his heel found a puddle of soapy water. One moment he was standing, and the next moment he was flat on his back. Are you okay? Bat asked. But he didn't climb down from his perch. His first priority was keeping that kit safe and dry. Oh, I've been better, Lawrence groaned. Jeff, who had discovered that the door was closed tight, returned to peer at Lawrence. He lowered his head and lovingly licked Lawrence's cheek with his long, pink tongue. Uh-oh. Wow. So we have a dog that got out, soapy water everywhere, Lawrence on the floor, Bat perched up on the counter,
Sounds like
Kit
a mess.
safe in a sling.
Woo-hoo. So we are going to find a new hiding spot for Thor here at Somerset, so you can be on the lookout for him. And we never got the answer to our question if Dr. Dragoo is writing Bat back yet or not. So we'll have to see if we get that
answer.
When we go Facebook Live on Thursday. And yeah, anything else?
I don't think so. That was kind of a long chapter. Sorry about my few mistakes in there.
We all make mistakes.
We do.
All right, everyone have a great night. We will see you tomorrow
Bye.
in your sweatpants.